It is official. Alek Manoah is back. Alek Manoah will start Friday in Detroit for the Blue Jays. Not the Fisher Cats, not the Florida Complex League, not the Bisons. We're talking Blue Jays baseball. The big cat is back. And I'm shocked by this.
Dude, an hour ago.
I am legitimately shocked.
An hour ago, we said there's no chance we're going to see this guy the rest of the season. Full restart. I think we both denied that he'd be back this year.
Yeah, I think you were adamant. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus.
I was adamant.
You were adamant.
You can throw me under the bus.
I by no means was certain this guy was going to return. But we were talking Hyunjin Ryu or Alek Manoah by September 1st.
Yeah.
Again, if you had asked me 15 minutes ago, I'd say maybe he's up in September. Like maybe they give him more, chance to run with it in Double-A. Maybe he moves up to Triple-A. Obviously, they saw something out of him over the weekend in a Double-A start. Or they made this guaranteed to him when they sent him down. We're sending you down for a month, and that's it.
Good point.
Or they're desperately in need of seeing him pitch in the major leagues one more time before the trade deadline to know exactly what they might need moving forward. I don't know.
Could this be like Keegan? Yeah, Keegan's down there. He's in the mix.
Let's get right to it because John Schneider just announced this to the media in Chicago. Jays, White Sox tonight. Here's Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. Take us through the explanation. Keegan, Alek Manoah returning on Friday.
Fellas, I thought the big cat was back was my intro. I was getting excited there. This was a bit surprising. Now, off the top, John Schneider typically lists off the injury updates. So today he begins with tomorrow in Buffalo, Zach Pop will pitch. Adam Simber's going to get back on the mound soon. Hyunjin Ryu through. And also, Alek Manoah is going to pitch for us Friday in Detroit. So the explanation behind this is that the Blue Jays feel good with what he's done. Obviously, that first FCL start, we talked about that line. Everybody saw it, 11 earned runs, 2 2/3 innings against teenagers. Nothing was good about it. But then last night looked really good in Double-A New Hampshire, and the Blue Jays sent him to the minor leagues with some very specific things to do, and they feel right now that he has done those. This is quicker than I expected. I did not expect this today. I'd love to sound smart and say I did, but that's a lie. I did not expect this to come down so quickly, and he is back much sooner than anticipated.
Yeah, I'm curious if they would have made this promise to him. I can't see why they would, Keegan, but go down there, do this, that, and the other, and if you do, regardless of what happens, you're coming up. Like, he is a prized possession of the team. This is a guy, clearly I'm not going to say they want to coddle or they're going to coddle, but they have high hopes for and they believe in and they want to feel good about himself. Do you think that's possible? Like this was always a foregone conclusion?
There's certain people that you want to keep happy, and there is, unfortunately, a ranking of those people within sports organizations. You want to keep your stars happy. In terms of a set and dry here, let's do 2 or 3 starts, I don't think they'd go to that point. You're dealing with service time. You're dealing with unions. A lot of that gets twisted and dark itself, especially when you're talking about a guy who's still early in his arbitration years. You're impacting potentially when he gets to free agency and cashes in, which is important for everybody, but especially a pitcher. So it's an interesting case. They were managing not just a pitcher, but a human being, because so unique, I think, in baseball, guys. We've talked about this before with prospects, but it's unique where you can be 23, 24, and you are failing for one of the first times, and you're doing it against Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge. That's not easy. A lot of these guys come up as superstars at every level, from junior high school right through to Triple-A, and then it hits you in the big leagues. Not easy. So I think they were managing a human being and confidence as much as anything, and they feel like it's in the right place.
Before I ask this question, I would just like to state that I'm happy Alek Manoah is coming up. I want him to succeed, of course. I'm a big fan of him. But what if it doesn't go well on Friday? Like, what if it's a disaster again? Where do the Jays go from there?
Yeah, that's something you have to consider. I mean, baseball is the sport of pessimism, so that's okay to wonder. It's all along, the one thing I've kept coming back to, and the one thing I think I've said more than anything, this has to work. Like, this cannot be a midway thing that you have to adjust and figure out again. Once you send a guy down to the complex league, once you have a guy facing 17, 18, and 19-year-old hitters and bring him back, it has to work. Because this can be such a good story. This can be the return of the king, the story of the season. Honestly, this can be the biggest story of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Or it can be really uncomfortable in a week. So the Blue Jays feel like they're in a place where this will be that good story. But I think that when something happens like this, you assume, boom, it's fixed. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in that organization putting their reputations on the line with this. Most notably, Ross Atkins. He would be the guy. He and Mark Shapiro would make the call on this. And I, like you said, Keegan, and you're right. If this guy comes up and is lights out and returns to form, it's the coolest story of the season, without question. It'd be one of the most unique stories in franchise history. It's already writing itself to be that. The fact that this guy had the ball opening day, as much hype as he had, it was all deserved because of how much of a stud he's been since he got called up. But it wasn't just off. It was a disaster. I mean, this guy was an absolute mess pitching in the major leagues. He goes down to the Florida Complex League, like you said, 11 earned, 2 home runs, 2 2/3 against teenagers. 1 start in Double-A. Man, this is risky, in my opinion. Very risky. But maybe the what they were worried about, Keegan, was if you give him another start in Double-A and he gets lit up there, are you restarting? Is this just a confidence play? And they feel like he's confident now, so they're going to try to ride that wave. It's a dangerous move, though, if it goes wrong.
Yeah, you've got to capitalize on any momentum you have. But like you say, it's risky at this point. And if this works, it is something I'm mentioning in stories for 10 years.
Yeah.
Alek Manoah winning his 3rd Cy Young. Remember when he went down to the Florida Complex League? It's the same way we still talk about Roy Halladay going all the way down. This isn't as extreme, but we still mention that. But there is a risk being taken. And this is where that word process comes into play. Guys, I have not figured out what that word means. It might take me another 10, 20 years covering this game to figure out what that vague word means. But this is an example of that being trusted. Everything that goes into it that we cannot see, the Blue Jays have a process and a plan. Mm-hmm. They believe it's working. And since that's what it's leaning on, exactly like you said, there's a risk being taken, a guy they feel comfortable betting on for obvious reasons like we've seen in past years. But, man, it's got to work.
Breaking news this hour, Alek Manoah is returning to the Blue Jays. He will start in Detroit on Friday. We're into July. Is there a chance the trade deadline factors in here, Keegan? In other words, they want to get him up even if they expedite the process to see if he can return to form, because once you get past July 31st, you can't change it. You can't update your roster if this guy's not a part of the program.
Yeah, you have to. And Hyun-Jin Ryu is a part of that, too. He threw 3 innings today, 42 pitches down in that same Florida Coast League. Man, the Florida Coast League is getting some good PR lately.
Yeah, it is.
This is just a dream season for the FCL. But Ryu coming back is a factor. Going into this year, guys, I said if Ryu pitches, that's a bonus. You take what you can get. Now it looks like he's going to throw some legitimate innings that matter. But beyond that, the Blue Jays don't have much pitching depth in the rotation. This is a weakness for the organization. Right now, it has been all season long. They were the very last team in MLB to need a number 6 starter, which for them was going to the bullpen right away. That's not ideal. That is not ideal. So unless Ryu gets right back and Manoah comes back and is rock solid, I think the rotation is a major need, maybe the primary need for this team regardless. And if something doesn't work out, if somebody pulls a hamstring, if somebody has a tough stretch, then it becomes a real issue. So I think starting rotation, depth, a veteran guy who can give you a normal outing has to be high on that list.